housing boom going on, and I was actually helping to finance some of the construction here. So I was out in your area prior. The 125 was in transit. There were a lot of things going on here. So you have the big Olympic training center and all that, and there were actually no real restaurants. It was like one little corner area that had a strip mall, and that was the only place I could get to eat, because as you know, if you go out the main street that goes way down to and eventually hits with 125, there was a lot of construction going on there. So anyway, it's very good to be back and see you all. This is one of the more established parts of Chula Vista, and I used to cruise by and again look for some food. So very, very pleased to be here. I'm Diane Harkey, State Assemblywoman. I've been in the Assembly since 2008. Prior to that, I was in the Dana Point City Council. 2004 and 2007, I was mayor. Prior to that, I spent 30 years in banking and corporate finance, worked from 1971 with Security Pacific Bank, which many of you may remember is a fabulous California bank. And then later got consumed by Bank of America. And I did work for 3 years, for I think 99, about 98, 99 to 2001 for Guarantee Bank, which was on the corner of Genesee and La Jolla Village Drive, which is how I got so involved in San Diego and financing. So I began as a clerk. I was not college educated, and at 23 decided that if all these guys I could put through management training, that I probably should be doing it myself. And I put myself back through school, through the community college system here in California that was not really available anywhere else. California used to be the golden state, and I know we can be back again. We've got all the institutions, we have all the abilities, we have all the talent. We just don't use it, and we've wasted it for many, many years. So my goal in running for politics is not because I like to be torpedoed 24/7 in the paper. It's because I really believe I have something to offer from a life standpoint as well as a career background to the State Board of Equalization. And the State Board of Equalization is the only elected tax board in the United States. It implements, collects, audits, adjudicates, and handles over 36 taxes and fees in the state of California. It is a huge job. My position will cover a quarter of the state: Orange, Riverside, San Diego, Imperial, and where the people live, the bottom part of San Bernardino County. 10 million, roughly 8 to 10 million people. It's a huge responsibility. And why did I choose this? I could have walked into the Senate seat that now Pat Bates will occupy, because San Diego didn't put up a candidate, and she's been around and she knows that area. So Pat Bates will be the new senator, which will encompass the current Mark Weiland district. I could have walked into that. That was like made for me. I could have also run for a county supervisor seat very easily. The 5th District County Sup that Pat Bates is vacating is in fact my entire district. I have a 7-to-1 name or approval rating in my district and 72% name ID. And I would bet you I've probably got the highest name ID of anyone in Orange County. So I will just let you know, good or bad, the name ID has not hurt me, and I work very diligently for my people. I have been the sole kind of impetus for halting and actually deterring high-speed rail. Back when I got elected in 2008, we walked into a crisis in the state of California. Our cash flow was underwater. We had no ability to pay our bills on a regular basis. We had debt up the wazoo, to be honest. I mean, under Arnold Schwarzenegger, our debt skyrocketed. Our regulatory environment was way out of control. And I do believe what happened is we had not had a governor in our state since Pete Wilson. I think he was the last governor we had. And like it or not, we are being governed now. At least there's some order. You know who's in charge. We did not know that before. We went from chaotic negotiation, from being the build-it governor to the green governor to this governor to that governor, and there was no one minding the store. So what's gone on in our state is what's currently going on, I believe, in the nation, where we have nobody really presiding as the executive officer, we have a campaigner, and we have, in the nation, the state, we had 120 legislators all just cutting deals on the side with no real direction. We have that right now with 535 congressional and senator people. And then we had the agencies without any supervision on steroids. So that's what's going on, I think, in the federal government right now, and we've already been there. So the good news is we're ahead of the federal government, and maybe we're coming out. And I do believe that, and that's why I continue to run for office. The Board of Equalization has just such potential for business community. We right now have a self-imposed drought. Okay, we are on a renewable binge for electricity when only 9% of our electricity is renewable. We have a long way to go before that becomes stable. And your electricity rates and your water rates are going to continue to escalate because we have not planned for anything at the state. The last time we had water infrastructure was with Jerry Brown's dad. And I remember his governorship vaguely, but some of you may. That was the last time we built water infrastructure in this state, other than a little project here, a little project there. There's been nothing. It was built for 18 million people. We now have 36 to 37 million. So anytime somebody tells you that we have a drought and we have to conserve, say no. We need to plan for the future. We're expected to get up to 50 million people in this state, and we have a water infrastructure serving 18 million people. That's our problem. So we need to build reservoirs, a lot more of those. We need storage. We need to be able to do desalination, and we need to get things back on track again. As far as electricity, we need to have a little bit of everything because 9% is not going to help us. And what we're doing now is we're importing most of our electrical and even our new renewables because the Air Resources Board is so onerous on any compliance. So there's a lot of things that we can do, but the Board of Equalization can implement or even refund the cost of a lot of these regulations if we can get 3 out of 5 on the board to do so. The Board of Equalization adjudicates franchise tax board appeals. So if you have a problem with the franchise tax board, go to your Board of Equalization member who is elected. Let them help you through before you get to an appeal process. I mean, that's what the board is for. The board can, it collects and distributes all of the sales tax in the state, and they work with the county assessors. They work on things like, equipment taxes and stuff that are taxed as personal property. They set the rates for a lot of this. It's a huge office. It is not to be treated lightly, nor to just somebody that wants to sit in the seat. It's a very important office. And we've had, pretty much we have an activist right now, George Runner on our side. You may remember Senator Runner. He is very, very active and pro-taxpayer. But our goal is my goal is to make the impact a little less on businesses and to try to generate business in this state, because that's the wheel. We can't regulate ourselves to prosperity and ration ourselves to prosperity, nor can we cut to prosperity. We have to grow. We have a huge unemployment problem and an underemployment problem. We have to grow. And to the extent that I can help settle things prior to a court or interfere where a court has made a decision that maybe is unclear and the taxpayer comes to the Board of Equalization trying to figure out what to do because it's unclear as to how to implement, the board can make a decision that becomes law. The board can make a decision on the fire taxes, on how much you get back for the new sales tax that's been forced on you as a business. How much do you get to implement this? The board can do these things, and they need to do these things. And we've had a lot of recent successes because I think that everyone, even our governor right now, believes that we have to get employment back. It's not easy because we've got this big bureaucracy that was built for so many years that you have to kind of whittle away at. But we're on the path to try to improve that. So with that, I've been endorsed by every Republican party, Orange, Riverside, San Diego, Imperial, and San Bernardino party. I've been endorsed by the California Republican Assembly. I have endorsements of just about every, oh gosh, I think just about every assembly member except for Rocky Chavez. And I've got, that may be a little past angst, I don't know. And then I've got endorsements all over the state. And I'm working with all the business groups. Caltax, their entity, TaxPac, has endorsed me, which covers a lot of the major corporations in the state. And whatever. I just, I need your support. I love your support. I appreciate that you had me here to speak to you. I flew down specially for this because I think it's really important that I reconnect with San Diego and starting south, and I will just move up. Thank you very much. I'll gladly take any questions. And yes, I don't own guns, but my husband does. Lots of them. He has an armory. Okay, yes.
You were stating that we needed additional water storage. The last time, I think it was in the 80s, where we were trying to get a reservoir built, and there was such an uproar from the environmentalists about some bug that was going to be misplaced, or displaced, not misplaced, displaced. How do you think that we can get around the environmentalist reports and the years of litigation that it takes for us to be able to increase our water storage?
Well, the governor can have some input into that, but more importantly, and I'll go into this right now, we all hate debt. We absolutely hate to have more bond debt, and I get that. I do too. But we passed in 2009 legislation that was tied to a bond that was only a partial dollar amount to help fix some of the state's water and allowed for storage. The language in that bond and the language in the legislation allows for storage. And we were very firm that we had to get storage, and we also had to get desal for Southern California. And we had to get water to the Central Valley for agriculture. Very important. We had all the entities, because water in California is not a partisan issue. It is a north-south issue, and Southern California begins just south of Sacramento. So if you are south of Sacramento, you are Southern California, and you're using their water. And it doesn't matter what you say, it's their water. So my contention was, okay, is water a state resource? I think it is. I think it belongs to the people of California. And so I don't mind paying for it if we have to transport it, that's okay. But that bond actually puts the burden on the state, entire state, everybody, for some of the expense of it. And I think that's only fair. It's a state resource. Now, your local agencies and whatnot will have to match fund, and they will be able to double, triple, and sometimes quadruple the amounts that are in that bond with certain other implementations. But we can get it done. So if, in fact, and I know we all vote no on debt, because I do all the time, but this is one bond that will actually provide water, which none of the other water bonds do, and we vote for them all the time because we think they're providing water, but they're just providing more environmental studies and payment for. We need water, we need infrastructure. This bond will do that. If they don't mess it up in the legislature and take it off the ballot, which is talk, but I think it's kind of the default. It's going on now unless it gets pulled off by 2/3. So we need that bond if it comes before you, because it will help. It's not I'm not saying it's not going to take time to build, but it's there. The language is pretty tight, and that is one debt instrument that I was for. And as a matter of fact, I would like to take the high-speed rail debt, get rid of that, put that on. We're good. Okay. Yes.
Just as a point of clarification, if I heard her question right, it wasn't about how we're going to pay for it. It was how do you get around the environmentalists that are wanting you to...
Okay, well, you're not going to get around it, but the legislation that we passed ensures that we get there, okay? What we've got now is just this hit and miss, whoever decides. We have wording in the legislation passed that allows for this, and that actually sets out sites for it. So, half of the debate will be gone. Let's put it that way. You can't solve it all, I mean, but you've got to do the best you can to ensure that you eventually get to where you want to go. And if we don't have firm language, we won't get to where we want to go. It'll be all sucked out in all sorts of, and also it's only for construction and whatnot, which is very important. And it does have bloat in it. It's unfortunate. Every time you pass something around, LA wants another $1 billion for something, but that's the legislative process. Yes?
How do you feel about fracking?
About fracking, I am a strong supporter. It's been going on in the Central Valley for years. And Central Valley, Bakersfield area is like the home of oil and ag. And they're being kind of decimated. Bakersfield is still alive, but believe me, up there, it's really bad if you're on one side of the water district. If you're on the Freant Water District, you've got a dust bowl. The other side is taken care of by wells and other things. And I've been told that if you don't buy up there, I talked to a guy that's doing very, very well. I said, well, how are you getting water? He says, well, when I bought many, many years ago, he was an older gentleman, he said, I wouldn't buy anything without a well on it. So he's got his own well water. Anyway. Yes. Yes, and I'll take any, yes.
No, there's a
Oh.
question.
I've sent my staff to Michelle's outreaches with the nonprofits, and what is your biggest plan to help out businesses as far as outreach and getting them, like as you say here, with encouraging growth and innovation and entrepreneurship? What's your biggest plan for?
Well, one of my biggest plan is to actually deal with what has been lagging right now on the BOE with regard to court decisions that have already been determined, but for some reason the FTB is not returning the money. The BOE staff is still auditing for the same things. I think we can do a lot to shorten the audit time frames, number one, because they're going to audit car dealers and whatnot with high sales tax, but we can probably shorten some of those audit time frames. Because when a business has is under an audit and they have to, and it drags out, they have to keep repeating to refresh all of their information time and time and time again, and it's very costly. So that's one thing. The other thing that I said was the court decisions that have been decided that still haven't been acted upon. The board can determine that through administrative rulings as to how they're going to do. Any kind of regulation, what's currently going on, what's the bill I'm currently working on? Oh, yes. Brian Dolly has a bill that I'm working on where really we can either have the legislature pass something to determine how much to exempt on a sales tax, which they're saying de minimis has to be under 5,000 annual sales, or we can let the Board of Equalization determine what's de minimis to the, and this is my position, where the board, it costs the board more to collect than it does to, more to collect and implement than it does to actually the state receives. That ought to mean de minimis. So we can do things like that. There's just a lot of ways that we can help out, and this is with regard to that lumber tax that went on. We're trying to get either a higher refund to the businesses that had to implement their whole new computer system to determine what's taxable, what's not taxable, versus just wholesale retail, and also to exempt those with sales under $25,000 annually, so that the mom and pops and the small stores don't have to go through all this harassment, and the BOE ends up costing more money, and to the state of California. Those are just some things. There's some things that are very commonsensical, like that, and administratively we can do a lot from the board. And just really just being there. I mean, if you have a question, you have an issue, I have consumer-friendly staff that will be out finding out what you need. I will have tax people and CPAs that will actually be on staff working with me, for me, to help my people get to where they need to go. I only need 3 votes out of 5. 4 are elected. 1 is the state controller, and he or she sends their person. So there's 5 people. We can probably do a lot more behind the scenes than we can at the actual hearings, but getting these things done is going to be very, very important to move business forward. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.